Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mika Fay, and I'm the manager of education interpretation here at the Corning Museum of Glass. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this special Connected by Glass event, Colorful Secrets of Steuben. Before we get started, I'm going to read our land acknowledgement. The Corning Museum of Glass is located upon the unceded, seized territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, of which the Onondaga, the Seneca Nation, and the Guayacono, the Cayuga Nation, are a part. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy predates the establishment of the museum, New York State, and the United States of America. The museum acknowledges the oppressive history inflicted upon and the continued dispossession of the Haudenosaunee people. We honor their ongoing connection to these lands and waters. We ask all present who read this acknowledgement to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that connect us all. This is a living land acknowledgement, and we will continue to revise and strengthen it as we continue to learn as an institution and in collaboration with others. So tonight, you're going to hear from Dr. Amy Hughes, Assistant Curator here and Curator of Local Color, Secrets of Steuben Glass, now open on the West Bridge. Then the Junior Curators are going to discuss their experience in the Junior Curator program and a little bit how they created their exhibition entitled Local Color, Witnessing Carter in a New Hue. In between those segments, I will talk about the Junior Curator program specifically and its history. We'll have time for a Q&A at the end, and then those of us who are here in person will head upstairs to the West Bridge to view the exhibition. If you do have a question, please hold it till the end. We have microphones on each side we would like you to use so that our online guests can hear the questions. So first up, Amy. Dr. Amy Hughes joined the museum as Assistant Curator on October 22nd. She holds a PhD in October 2022, She holds a PhD in art history and visual culture from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, a master's in history of arts, design and culture from the Bard Graduate Center, and a BA in French and political science from Marquette University. Her specialization is in 19th and 20th century glass with a focus on post-war Central European glass. Her doctoral dissertation investigated intersections between political dissent, trauma, and modernism, and Stanislav Lubensky and Yaroslava Bryktova's post-war monumental glass sculptures. Amy brings 9 years of curatorial and research experience to her work in exhibitions and publications, and has taught and lectured on art and glass history classes in the United States, France, and the Czech Republic. She has held positions at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Helen Louise Allen Textile Collection, and most recently as research assistant at the Sudek Project, Institute of Art History, Czech Academy of Sciences in Prague, where she was part of the research team cataloging, exhibiting, and generating publications about the Academy's collection of photographs of Czech photographer Josef Sudek. Please welcome Dr. Amy Hughes.
Thank you, Mika, and welcome, and thank you for coming. I wish to also extend a special congratulations to all the Junior Curators for their fabulous and beautiful show. So, Local Color, Secrets of Steuben Glass, showcases the early history of Steuben Glassworks, founded in 1903 in Corning, with a focus on the community of European immigrant expert glass workers, local artisans, and women that helped make a dazzling variety of glass and forms in the early 20th century. The exhibition introduces Steuben's first artistic manager, Frederick Carter, and other individuals who worked with him. Today, I'll provide a brief overview of the exhibition and share some of the fascinating discoveries identified during the research and planning of this project. So I wish to thank the exhibition team and each and every department in the museum that helped every single stage of this exhibition, as well as Bill Gundenrath, Kate Larson, and Alexandra Ruggiero, as well as Tom Dimitrov for sharing their technical expertise with me. Born and trained in England, examples of Frederick Carter's early works made at Stevens and Williams in England, such as these cameo vases, will be on view upstairs. In cameo engraving, an object is blown using a single color. Then the object is covered in another contrasting color. After the glass cools, the glassmaker removes portions of the outer layer using a sharp tool or acid to uncover the glass color below, which creates the raised designs. Now, these early works are significant because, in addition to their fine craftsmanship, they illustrate three major sources of inspiration that inform Carter's creative work throughout the rest of his long artistic life. 1, shapes from Greek and Roman antiquity. 2, his love of nature and gardens. And 3, his love and unwavering passion for color. In 1903, Frederick Carter immigrated to England, or from England, to Corning, at the invitation of Thomas G. Hawks to oversee the artistic designs at Steuben Glassworks, to recruit and supervise the company's team of glassworkers as well. It's important to note that not just Carter immigrated. He was 40 years old in 1903, and by that time in his life, he had a family who also immigrated with him. And this photo was taken just 1 year before the family immigrated and shows his sister-in-law, this is his sister-in-law, this is his wife Annie, his son Cyril, who died in World War I, a family cousin, his daughter Gladys, and his father Caleb, and this is Carter as well. The vast archives in the Racco Research Library help give us a sense of the early environment at Steuben Glassworks. These images illustrate what the interior and the exterior of the factory looked like, with the factory on the left and on the right side, an image of Hawks, Carter in the center, and an unidentified individual that were all inside the Steuben factory in Corning as the furnaces were getting built. Archival photos also show what the first finished interior spaces looked like. Carter not only designed for Steuben, he developed over 100 different colors. Some of his most famous colors can be seen here: gold and blue orine and rouge flambe. His colors were so well known that several of Corning's streets actually bear their names, including Orine Lane, Intarsia Lane, and Tyrian Lane, which are all types of glass that you'll see in the exhibition. Now, the contrast between these two images, that out of this rough interior came these refined and elegantly shaped vessels, is a testimony to the talented group of individuals Carter recruited to work at Steuben, many of whom were immigrants like himself. We know from some census and archival documents that individuals from many countries, including Sweden and Ireland, the former Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Italy, all places with long-standing glassmaking traditions, worked at Steuben. But there are gaps in our archival knowledge, and so continuing to mine the archives, as well as other census documents and newspaper articles or city directories, can help piece together clearer pictures of the makeup of Steuben in these early years. For example, a 1907 newspaper article mentioned a brawl between Swedish glassmakers and Italian glassmakers at Steuben that actually ended with the Italians knifing a few of the Swedish glassmakers. And this resulted in the Swedish glassmakers working at Steuben refusing to work until all of the Italians were fired. And according to this newspaper article, the Italians were fired and the Swedish glassmakers went on to work. So pursuing these lines of inquiry helps us not only understand Steuben and its glass more clearly, but it also helps shine a light on the political and the cultural climate of the times. One of the talented immigrants that the exhibition features is a Swedish-born glassmaker named James, his nickname was Johnny E. Jansen, who was considered one of Steuben's most talented gaffers or glassmakers. Carter considered this type of glass he developed, called intarsia, which you see here, to be Steuben's greatest achievement because of its difficulty to make. First, colored glass fragments in designed patterns were placed on a flat metal plate, or called a marver. Then, a clear bubble of glass, called a gather, was blown and rolled over those colored fragments, which then stuck to the hot bubble. Another gather of clear glass was then added, so the colored fragments would be sort of sandwiched between them. And finally, the layered glass was then blown and shaped into its final form. Jansen was the only glassmaker Carter entrusted to make intarsia objects. It's thought that only 30 to 40 were actually made in total. Additionally, the Pomona green glass, you can see here, is thought to be one of only 3 existing. So once Jansen retired, no more intarsia vessels were made. Another figure highlighted is the American Arthur August Jansen Sr., who also came from a family of Swedish glassmakers who immigrated to the United States. He rose through the ranks of Steuben and became one of the company's most versatile glassmakers, designing and making glass, as well as developing chemical compositions for various glassmaking processes. As electrification became more widespread in the early 1900s, glass lighting fixtures became a large and a lucrative market for Steuben. So the company produced hundreds of designs for lampshades and for fixtures. Examples of both his design sketches and the types of objects he made will be on view, which you can also see here. This is another page from one of his design journals, which are also in our wonderful archives, and showcase additional landscape sketches, as well as a sampling of the array of colors and styles and shapes of lampshades and glass tables that Steuben designed. Women also played extremely important roles in Steuben production, though their specific stories, including even their names sometimes, are often missing from companies' archival documentation materials. Now, we know from archival sources that women packed glass, as you can see in this lower photo. We know that they were involved in the marketing, commissioning, and selling of glass. And we also know that they decorated glass, shown in this top photograph, specifically applying wax patterns to glass lampshades, such as this lighting fixture, before they were acid etched. Now, for this lighting fixture, a layer of blue orine was blown over the yellow jade. Women would then take the vessel and apply wax in the patterns of the deer and the clouds and the flora that you see. Then the entire object would be submerged in acid, which would remove the outer layers of the glass. And the glass protected underneath the wax would then remain, and that would leave the raised design behind. Now here on the left, you can actually see Jansen's notes for the recipes of the acid baths that were used for acid etched designs, which, as you can read, include very dangerous acids. On the right, on the far right, you can see how deeply the acid cuts into the actual vessel. And in the center, our wonderful team of preps put a flashlight from a mobile phone into the vessel just to help give a sense of the warm, rich hues that these types of lighting fixtures would give off. There do remain, however, large gaps in our archival knowledge of the women's histories at Steuben, including who exactly were they and what exactly did they work on. For example, this photo from 1928 shows dozens of women employees at Steuben, but over the decades, knowledge of those names were lost. So in 1968, a local newspaper sent out an open call to ask people in the community to identify all the people that they could, and most actually were identified. But we still don't know what these women did. Likewise, a 1911 Bureau of Labor Studies identified that certain tasks, such as acid etching, pressing, and blowing glass, were done by men because they were deemed too dangerous activities for white women, but that these same tasks were not considered too dangerous for women of color, who were allowed to work on the glass factory floor in jobs that were usually held by boys. So these photos and studies demonstrate that there is so much more to discover about the racial inequalities of glassmaking and the role of women workers in glass houses in the early 20th century. So in an effort to help fill these gaps in our archival knowledge of women's roles at Steuben, the exhibition invites visitors via a QR code to share stories about women they may know or women their families or friends may know who worked for Steuben over the years. So for those of you who are here in person, we invite you, when you are up in the galleries, to look for this QR code and share stories of women that you know if you have some to share. Now, over the course of Carter's 82 years of working with glass, he developed dazzling colors in a plethora of forms and sizes, a small sampling of which can be seen here. Another very famous color Carter developed, Tyrian glass, seen in the center, was made with heat-sensitive glass. So the longer it was reworked and reheated, the hue changed from green to a deeper bluish purple. The exhibition concludes by introducing the 1933 reorganization of the company as Steuben Incorporated, which is marked by new leadership. Arthur Houghton Jr., seen on the far left, replaced Carter as the new director. Now, during this time, Steuben pivoted away from the colored, the floral, and classically inspired works to colorless glass with sleek and streamlined shapes as public demand for those styles increased. Acrobats, seen in the middle, embodies this such artistic change. Steuben remained committed, however, to recruiting the best craftspeople from both Europe and the United States. The exhibition highlights one such master, Joseph C. Libich, who trained in Europe, immigrated to the United States, and became the head of the engraving department in 1937. You can see him at work here. Now, he engraved Acrobats in 1939, and it is a tour de force in its mastery of depth of perception via engraving on a rounded flat surface, which we can see here in the treatment of the dimension of the depth of perception in the left hand being larger than the right hand, which really does make the perception of depth to be farther away. In the years after World War II, its pristine clarity, clear lines, and sleek forms made Steuben a frequent choice for diplomatic and domestic gifts, and the company still enjoys its reputation for classic American luxury glass today. So I hope you enjoy the exhibition. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amy. The exhibition is truly beautiful. Now, I'm going to take this this opportunity to introduce the Junior Curator program. It is one of the longest running museum youth programs in the country. established in the 1957-1958 school year, which means we are celebrating the program's 65th anniversary this year. We're not sure exactly how many students have been reached over those 65 years, but based on years that we have numbers for and kind of some estimates in between, we think the program has reached more than 1,500 area students in its time, some of whom have gone on to work in museums and become, future museum educators, museum curators, and other museum workers. And they cite the program as a major influence. And they're everywhere. So I want to acknowledge that our events production and programs manager, Scott, was also a junior curator once upon a time. And I have run into former junior curators in the most random places, like on a cruise. Are there any, aside from this year's current junior curators, any other junior curators in the audience tonight? Oh, yay, all right. Welcome, please connect with me later. We are always looking to connect with former junior curators, and if you all know any others, please send them my way. The program has looked different throughout its history. It's always been run by the education department and has been free for participants. It was called the Junior Curators Association in its early years, and it has included a variety of ages from elementary up through currently grades 8 through 12. It has run over a variety of lengths of time, sometimes the whole school year, sometimes like now, the spring. It has had a variety of projects and focuses through the years. And though those have changed, the production of an exhibition and emphasis on careers in the arts, especially in museums, are recurring elements. In the last 10 to 15 years, the junior curators use the student and instructor work over at the studio to create their own exhibition that would go on view over there. And a favorite part of the program, which you're seeing on the slides, was a behind-the-scenes tour with our Senior Manager of Collections and Exhibitions, Warren Bunn. We're hoping to bring that back in future years. In the last several years, the focus has been on creating an exhibition that goes on display here at the museum in the galleries. Students in grades 8 through 12, like I mentioned, meet weekly after school from February through June and design the exhibition together. 2017 marked the big shift. Junior curators that year wrote a proposal for the 2018 exhibition, a time capsule marking the 60th anniversary of the program, and presented it to our president and executive director, Carol White. It was approved. And in 2018, they worked with Jeff Mack, one of our glass artists, to realize that vision. So their glass time capsule, which you're seeing on the slide, will be opened on the 100th anniversary of the program, 35 years from now. Since that year, the junior curators have worked with museum objects to create their exhibition. So from focusing on new acquisitions, which you see in the other image on that slide, to rarely viewed artworks, to examining glass and the roles of women in advertising, to commemorating the 1972 Chemung River flood. Their voices have not been stopped by a pandemic, but have only gotten stronger. So the current program looks like this. Students work with me, Troy Smythe, our manager of interpretation and interpretation strategy and education projects, who was unable to join us tonight, but he's watching online, so hi, Troy. And a curatorial liaison, who this year was Reese Peacock, our curatorial assistant. Our goals include giving participants an authentic experience where they really go through the curatorial process and where they have agency, making most of them, as many of the decisions as possible about the exhibition, and to promote their voices and points of view in the museum and to our visitors and our communities. It's a hybrid program now, which means we meet in person here at the museum and also virtually. So just like tonight's Connected by Glass, we're able to incorporate students via virtual means, and we have a couple of students in the program who are from Syracuse and who joined us for most of the meetings virtually, but they are here tonight. Junior curators meet about 15 times, which means they have to get background, do research, choose objects, create an interpretive goal, create a title, write labels, work with graphics on the look and feel, and design, and much more in less than really 25 hours of contact time. So a lot of interdepartmental cooperation and collaboration goes into this program and the resulting exhibition, and I want to thank everyone involved for their time and support. If I tried to name people, I would forget a bunch, so just, you know who you are. Thank you all. This year is a year of firsts. We had 4 repeat students. This is not a first. We've had repeat students for the last several years, but we had 4 repeat students from last year and 3 new students to the program, though they are not new to the museum. And one of our students is a graduating senior this year who has participated in the program since she was in 8th grade. So congratulations on your graduation, Ashti. So as I mentioned, we had several firsts this year. This program tonight is one of the firsts. We've never featured the junior curators in a program like this before, so you're witnessing one of them. Another first is creating, their exhibition that they created was a portion of a larger exhibition, so that hasn't been done before for us. And yet another is we're adding a membership component to it, so each student is receiving a one-year membership to the museum. This year, the junior curators were tasked with investigating color in Carter's Steuben glass. So we gave them background on Carter and Steuben. We did a walkthrough of the Carter Gallery for them to view the almost 60 objects that were pre-selected by Reese and myself, and for them to have the opportunity to add any more objects to that list if they felt we really missed something. Then obviously we spent a lot of time narrowing down that list. We made a playlist about color. You can see some of the songs up there. We did some word association, which really helped when we were creating titles later. We did word association. We visited the library to do additional research from the Carter archives on Carter's philosophies, recipes, and use of color. And we also coordinated with Amy to make sure that this portion of the exhibition complemented what she was doing with her portion of the exhibition. So some interpretive questions the junior curators asked include, who was Carter's primary target market? Did he have a specific vision or mission for his glassworks? How did the color recipes differ, and what was hard to accomplish? What was his design process, and did he think of color before he thought of form? We created an interpretive goal and title, grouped objects, created mock layouts, labels, and the students we were in the staging area and they determined the order the objects would go in. And now they did much more, but I'm going to turn it over to Reese Peacock and the junior curators for a roundtable discussion about their process. So first I'll introduce Reese. Reese Peacock joined the museum a little over a year ago for a 3-year assignment as curatorial assistant. Reese is an artist, curator, educator, and active member of the glass community, who recently served as assistant technician of glass and an adjunct professor at Alfred University's School of Art and Design. Her artistic and curatorial practice focuses on queer femme histories and material culture. She holds an MFA in glass and ceramics from the Tyler School of Art and Architecture and a BFA in glass and sculpture from Alfred University. So I'm going to ask Reese. Thank you, Reese, to go up to our table for the roundtable discussion. Please welcome Reese. And please meet this year's junior curators who are going to join Reese at the table. Ashti, Deepti, Erica, Lauren, Minerva, and Octavia. And we do have a junior curator, Kareen, who could not be with us tonight. So please welcome our junior curators.
It's good to be here with you tonight. How are you all doing?
Good.
Yeah. Good. All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Big breath. Here we go. All right. Deepti, I'm going to start with you. We started with 60 objects for this exhibition. We had to narrow it down. What were some activities that helped us make our decisions to narrow down our original object list? Oh. I don't know what the situation is. Is that better? Can people hear me? I can also project. I was captain of my cheerleading squad. Yeah. Okay, Deepti, we started off with 60 objects for the object list, and we had to go through an extensive process of narrowing that list down. What were some activities that helped us make our decisions to narrow down our original object list?
So basically, we were given a list in a packet, and in the list, we all had a brief look, and we were given the choice to pick a couple objects because we can't obviously have all of them. So we had this system where we ranked them from 1 to 3, and everyone went around with each object, which was a long process. And in that process, we all ranked it. Some people loved objects a bit more than others and were kind of sad if it didn't make the list. But it was mostly a group activity, so whatever object got majority of the votes, that was the objects that were picked. And we did go back, if there were any objects that someone really enjoyed or inspired to have into the exhibition. So yeah, with that, we all ranked it, and we came to a final conclusion of the objects we had. And with that, we grouped up the objects, and we used another system where we had the slideshows, and basically everyone was given a task of what objects to put together and how to put them together. But yeah, that was it.
Great, thanks, Deepti. Awesome. Okay, we're going to have some examples on the screen of some objects that did not make it into the exhibition. So I'm going to ask Lauren and Octavia, if you could include one more object in the exhibition, what would it be and why? And can you name it on the screen here?
Okay, so if I was going to add one more object for our exhibition, I would add object number 4. I think this piece would add another cooler tone to our object selection to help balance out the color range. And it's also a pretty tall piece, which would work really well with the green jade fan that we had, which I think would be really great.
Great, thanks, Lauren.
I remember my answer.
That's okay. I have cue cards as well. So.
So like Lauren said, I would choose the first object, not the fourth.
Number 1.
Yeah. Because it's a cool tone and it adds something to our exhibition, which has mainly warmer tone pieces. And I think the piece fits well because it doesn't really have super confusing shape or intricate details, but it still brings a different type of shape into the exhibition.
Great, thank you.
I also like the piece because it has 2 colors featured in it, and we don't have any white objects, so bringing that in would be nice. The object having 2 colors showcases how Carter used contrasting colors to complement each other in his pieces.
Great, thanks, Octavia. Lauren and Octavia, those were great answers. Yeah. So I believe Lauren chose number 4, right? Correct? Because that was a cooler color and some of our selections were on the warmer side. And Octavia chose number 1 for the similar reasons, correct? Okay.
Change of plans. I think we're going to pass.
Change of plans, y'all. All right. Woo! Okay. Minerva, I'm going to ask you this question. We made a group decision on how the objects are displayed within the case. Can you describe what that process was like? And we do have a couple of examples here up on the screen.
Hello. Okay. So I was hybrid, so I didn't do the activity that's on the screen, but I did it through Google Slides, which on Google Slides, we had an image of all the objects we were going to have in the expedition, and Octavia and I were both hybrid. We had to arrange them in whatever order we thought we liked on the slide. And then in person on the slideshow, they had pieces of paper with each object, and they could arrange them however they wanted to. And then we collaborate. We talked about it together after we decided that. And we talked about why we liked each object next to the one it was like next to, and then we like heard each other's reasons and stuff, and then got to like an end product, like the next meeting, because like pictures were taken of the ones in person, and then we went. We saw the objects physically, and like our pictures were like referenced, and I learned from that you have to handle objects with 2 hands, no matter how small the object is, like the teacup.
Yes, you are correct.
I think that took a while, maybe like 30 minutes or something, to like pick the order of the objects. We kept going back and forth with like the stands, and like, oh, should that be next to there? And we like talked together and stuff about that. Octavia and I were on a phone. That worked well because we could still like see everything well. And then after we were all like, oh, this looks good, like our ideas all worked together. We did it.
You did it.
Yay.
You did it. Thank you so much. I love the enthusiasm. Okay, Ashti and Erica, I'm going to ask you this question. What was the most exciting or challenging component about the Junior Curator program or the exhibition as a whole?
Okay, so I think Deepti talked a little bit about it, but I found one of the most challenging parts to be the object selection. So like it's been mentioned before, we started with 60 objects in this packet of all these beautiful objects and all these colors I wanted to include, and I thought they were so pretty and I wanted them all to be in our exhibition, but obviously they couldn't. So I think what was challenging was that we had to put aside which one was our favorite and really take it back to our interpretive goal. And I think this was a really effective use of our interpretive goal because I found myself really thinking about, okay, but does it fit in with what the bigger message of our exhibition? And I found that to be challenging, but I think at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the way it all turned out. So that was pretty challenging, but.
Yeah, so one of the things I found most exciting was going to this program. I did not expect to have so much hands-on work with all of the objects in the exhibition. Going in, I thought we would be given a few objects to look at, say yes or no, and then kind of pass it on to adults. But it was really fun to be able to actually work with the objects, decide which ones we're going to keep from, a big collection of 60 of them. And yeah, getting to move the objects around in person to try to figure out where we wanted stuff. It was a really great experience, and I'm glad we got that much in-person experience with it.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're going to have time for one more rapid-fire question, okay? All are welcome to answer. If you were to join Junior Curators again, what theme would you want to curate for a future exhibition?
I'll start this one because unfortunately I cannot come back. I am the senior. So, but I can still share my thoughts of what I would love to see this program do next. One of the exhibitions I did in the past years was Women in Glass Advertising, and that was one of my favorites. And I really liked glass and social commentary because I think there's so much you can say about that. So I was really interested in the post-war, like 20th century era glass, and I would like to see that and the influence on minorities during that time in the United States. So I think that would be a great idea for an exhibition in future years.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Is there anyone else who would like to answer?
Okay, so this kind of goes off of Ashley's idea, but I think bringing a lot of cultural aspects into it would be cool. There's a lot of ways that art, especially art, gets passed through cultures, and you can see a lot of the similarities throughout time and different areas. And I think it'd be cool to kind of take pieces from around the world and then compare and contrast a little.
I think an idea we had was to do something with like early history and the beginnings of like glass art and pieces. And we can also like do something with culture and how glass like evolved. Glass pieces evolved in different cultures in their own ways.
Okay, hello again. My idea is also kind of like everyone else's, but it's more of like, how did we discover glass kind of a thing? Like, how did we pick out like the colors that do the different color thing? Like, like, cause like when the glass is like dipped in the color, it doesn't look like the color it comes out as. So the people get hurt. Did people die from this? Like, how many different cultures like overlap to create like whatever glass we have like today, kind of a thing? I want to know like the base of it.
I also want to know the base of it. I think that's an excellent idea. Would you like to answer?
So kind of going off of what Erica said about taking pieces from around the world, I would really love to see something in like global history, taking pieces from different eras around the world, from different areas of the world, like Asia, Africa. I feel like it would express more diversity in the program as well and allow for the opportunities to analyze further pieces with cultural aspects as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, y'all. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with each and every one of you. Ashti, congratulations on graduating, and I hope to see all of you next year. Well done. Thank you.
All right, you all can actually, I think, stay up there and keep the mic because we're going to do the question and answer now. So thank you so much to all of our speakers and to the junior curators. So now's the Q&A portion. We have maybe 15 minutes for questions. So if you have a question, online questions are being monitored. And if you have a question, please head to the microphone on that side. Since we've rearranged, we borrowed the microphone from this one. So please head to a microphone and ask the question so that our online guests can hear. Carol's going to get in line. And I'm so glad we have this recorded and things so that I can remember all of their ideas for future exhibitions. And hopefully we will see those as future Junior Curator exhibitions.
So my question for all of you, knowing that this is a 65-year program, 65-year-old program, and hopefully one that's influenced the future choices of those who have gone through it, I'd be curious to know if what you've gained from this experience, what you've learned from this experience, if you have a sense of how it's going to affect your future decisions about what you choose to do with your lives.
So I've been in this program for 5 years now, so I think I can speak pretty well on how I think it's influenced me. There's a lot of research and label writing involved in making the exhibition, and I think in me, I've learned a passion for writing and research because of this. Like that's something I want to do a lot when I go off to college, and I think I wouldn't have learned that about myself if I hadn't been in this program. I think, I know I just mentioned research, but I think the level of research that's involved with this, like the stuff that we'll do at RayCal, the stuff that we'll talk about just even at like our table, and how we'll start with the basics. So I remember Reese had us do a word association. At first I was like, okay, like out of my comfort zone, but it ended up being really helpful at the end. And it's just, I think that foundational learning is something that I'll take with me through my whole life. So I think that's something this program has really instilled in me.
Thanks. Would anyone else like to answer?
Okay. This program, it's like taught me like the background of like museums, kind of like how when you go to like a grocery store, you don't know what happens like behind like the big doors, but we're behind the big doors. We know what happens. And I really like how much like, not like power, but kind of like power, like we as teens like have in our expedition. Like remember last year we had to pick like the lighting and stuff. I was like, we can talk about the lighting? Like that's like such like an adult detail thing I thought we wouldn't even like mention. But it's like if I go into the field, I feel like I'll have maybe more like respect or like power that I wouldn't expect or something maybe, or like what I would do in the field if I want to go into museum curation.
think we have another question. Yeah?
Yes, so I think programs like this takes a village to pull it off correctly. So I was wondering about your experiences with the rest of the staff here at the museum. What kind of experiences did you have? How did you collaborate with them? Those sorts of things.
Great question.
I have to say, the staff here, everyone is really respectful, and they just set off a good atmosphere, and there's always positive behavior around here, and it's always really welcoming to be around everyone around in this building. And especially in the program, the staff, they introduce us with all these type of opportunities, and with this program, the Junior Curator program, we've been given so much hands-on opportunities and so much different varieties of things to do, and all with the help of our staff and everyone here. So I really enjoyed that experience.
I just want to give a shout out to graphics because like we are teens, and I feel like one thing that we all need is a lot of options, and they were so good at being able to like work with us and kind of tell when we weren't really feeling it, but was able to like see like, okay, like let me change this around and work with us until we were able to see something different. And that's a whole new side to putting an exhibition together from what we've been doing, which is like the label writing and the research and all that. Graphics was like a whole new thing, and I was like, I feel like I had a new appreciation for what it takes to make it look the way you're going to see it in a few minutes. So.
I also feel a responsibility to acknowledge the incredible librarians at the Raycal Research Library who opened the special collections and archives. This exhibition probably would not have happened without them, so thank you so much. I think we have another question.
Yeah, so this question's coming from us online. Did the junior curators have exposure or experience with the restoration or conservation aspect of the preparation of artifacts for display?
Did we have experience with conservation? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so not really, but we did see a little bit of it in the Raycal Library when we went to go see the archives. We got to see how all the images and all of the recipe books were being stored, which was really cool. I did not expect to be able to see that, and it was nice to be able to flip through them a little and look at all of the images and what Carter used to inspire him. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, actually, this one may be for Mika. Have you ever thought about having a senior curator program? As a lover of both glass and museums, I would love to participate in this kind of program and learn more about the curatorial process.
Thank you for the question. I have actually received that question once before in the last couple of years, and we haven't really thought about that yet. But it's been in my brain. It's been something that it has been, like I said, brought up once before. And so I never say never. As this program takes a village, I think we'd need an additional village to do another version of the program. But, never say never.
Who would
Sure.
sign up?
Can we see
Who
show
would
of
sign
hands
up?
for who'd sign up? Is Carol's asking, I think.
Okay, are there any other questions this evening?
I will add a little bit of context to the conservation question. In some other exhibitions the junior curators have done, they have toured conservation, and I know last year with the Chemung River flood of 1972 anniversary exhibition, they were in conservation and they saw a presentation by one of the conservation interns about the conservation process of objects that were involved in the flood. So it does happen in some of the programs. It just kind of depends on what their topic is. And that's one of the neat things about this program. And if students are in it for multiple years, they get to see different things based on what the theme of the exhibition is and the objects they're working with. So, any other questions? We have a few more minutes for those if we want. Oh, we got one.
So I have a very simple question. I hope just how do you decide the final number of pieces you want to put in the exhibition? Because you mentioned there are 60 pieces to choose from. How do you decide the final number?
That's a great question. Would anyone like to take it on? How do we decide the final number, Lauren?
Originally we had just the size of our case to use, and we didn't have like a very specific number, but obviously we can't fit like 20, otherwise it would be like jam-packed. So we kind of used like the size of the case, and we just wanted to make sure that we got like a good color range, especially for this exhibition, because that's what we were focusing on. So we kind of just made sure we had all the colors we wanted to include, and we knew that we had a pretty big case, so we fit what felt right, and yeah.
I feel like I remember like we had extra objects that we added at some point. Like we had like one or two extra. We were like, we like these and we have room. Let's add them. Like we kind of like rank stuff. And we went back to ones that we still really liked. So then just added those in.
I think also like we were online, so it was kind of hard to tell how like big the objects were. Also, like I know that we only saw them on like the people in person only saw them on paper originally, so it was kind of a surprise to me when I like saw them a picture of them together to see how their sizes looked like compared to each other. Yeah.
We did take a field trip over to the Carter Gallery. That is how we came up with some of the objects that we narrowed down. Do you remember going over to the Carter Gallery and seeing? Yeah, okay, cool. Any other questions? Okay. All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
Well done.
So if there are no further questions, I want to thank Amy for her wonderful presentation and all of our Junior Curator panelists and everyone for all of their work. I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank our online audience for coming as well. And those of us who are here in person are now welcome to go up to the West Bridge and see the exhibitions. And we hope to see those of you online here at the museum or online for other programs. So everyone, thank you so much for coming and have a lovely evening.